Every single one of us wakes up every morning with a limited supply of energy, focus, and time. And yet, most people don't think about where that energy is going to go. They roll out of bed, grab their phone, check their notifications, and immediately start reacting to other people's priorities instead of their own. That is why so many people end their day feeling drained, frustrated, and asking themselves, what did I even get done today? The truth is, if you don't decide what matters most to you before the world gets a chance to hijack your attention, you're going to lose the day. And here's the hard reality. Days add up. If you're not intentional, those lost days stack into lost months, and lost months turn into lost years. That's how people look back and realize they've been busy but not effective, moving but not progressing, working but not achieving what actually matters to them. Clarity beats chaos every single time. When you take even 5 minutes at the start of your day to ask, what are the most important things I need to focus on today? You immediately cut through the noise. Think about it. If you don't know your priorities, everything feels urgent. Every email, every message, every little distraction pulls you in, and suddenly your day is gone. But when you have clarity, when you've written down exactly what matters, you don't get pulled in the same way. You have a map. You know where to direct your energy. And here's what's really powerful. Your brain loves clarity. It wants to solve problems, but it needs direction. Without it, your mind spins, your anxiety spikes, and you're scattered. But when you set priorities, you give your brain a job, and suddenly you're not just busy, you're effective. And this is not about writing a to-do list with 25 things on it. That's just another form of chaos. I want you to understand the power of simplicity. There's a principle called the rule of 3. Your brain can only handle so much at once. If you try to do everything, you'll do nothing well. But if you choose your top 3 priorities, you create focus, you create momentum, and you actually finish things. You don't need to do it all. You need to do what matters. That's how progress is made, one small set of focused actions at a time. Think about it. Would you rather make real progress on 3 important things or half-finished 20 meaningless ones? That's the difference between someone who drifts through life and someone who takes charge of it. Now, here's where most people get stuck. They confuse what's urgent with what's important. Urgent feels loud. It screams for your attention. It's that email, that notification, that phone call, but urgent doesn't always move your life forward. Important, on the other hand, often whispers. It's that project you've been meaning to start, that workout you've been skipping, that call you've been putting off. It doesn't demand your attention, but it matters. And when you don't prioritize it, it gets buried under all the noise. That's why you've got to train yourself to ask every single day, am I working on something urgent or something important? Because if you only respond to the urgent, you'll stay stuck where you are. But if you make time for the important, you'll start creating the life you want. The beautiful thing is, once you start prioritizing your daily goals, you build momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Every time you check something important off your list, you prove to yourself that you can follow through. You show yourself evidence that you can handle more, and this creates a snowball effect. Confidence grows when you keep promises to yourself. It's not about massive leaps, it's about consistent daily steps. Imagine what your life would look like if you stacked just 3 meaningful actions every single day. In 1 week, that's 21 wins. In a month, that's 90. In a year, over 1,000. And most people never think about it this way, but those tiny wins add up to radical transformation. And let me be real with you. You don't need to feel motivated to do this. Motivation is unreliable. It's not going to be there every morning when you wake up. What will get you there is discipline, a system, the habit of sitting down, writing out your priorities, and committing to them no matter how you feel. Discipline is what builds consistency, and consistency is what builds results. You want to know the secret? Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for motivation. Instead, create a system where you set your priorities and just take action. Do it whether you feel like it or not. That's how you win the day. That's how you win your life. So here's my challenge for you. Tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, before you let the world in, take a piece of paper and write down the top 3 priorities for your day. Not 10, not 20, just 3. and then commit to finishing them. Protect them. Treat them like non-negotiables, because when you do, you stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You stop drifting and start directing. And that shift from chaos to clarity, from reaction to intention, is exactly what will transform your life. Most people underestimate the power of focus. They believe productivity is about doing more, filling every hour with endless tasks, and somehow juggling a million responsibilities. But let me tell you something. Your brain is not designed to handle an overflowing to-do list. In fact, the more things you pile on, the less you actually accomplish. That's why you end up with days where you've been busy from morning to night, and yet you can't point to a single meaningful thing you finished. It's exhausting, it's discouraging, and it keeps you stuck in a cycle of constant busyness without progress. What you need instead is simplicity. That's where the rule of 3 comes in. The rule of 3 is simple but powerful. Every day, you identify the 3 most important things you want to accomplish. Not 30, not 20, not 10, just 3. Because when you limit yourself to 3, you're forcing yourself to prioritize. You're teaching your brain to focus on what truly matters. And here's the truth. Your brain loves simplicity. It thrives when it has clear direction. When you give your mind 3 targets to hit, it knows exactly where to put its energy. But when you dump 25 tasks on it, it freezes, it scatters, and it wastes time bouncing from one thing to another without ever landing anywhere. Think about how you feel when you look at a long, overwhelming to-do list. It's discouraging before you even begin. It makes you feel behind before the day has even started. But when you look at 3 specific priorities, it feels possible. It feels doable. That small shift in perspective changes everything. Instead of being buried under the weight of too much, you create a plan that feels achievable. And when something feels achievable, you're more likely to take action. Action creates momentum, and momentum builds results. Let's make this practical. Imagine you wake up tomorrow and instead of creating a laundry list of 15 things, you ask yourself, what are the 3 most important things I need to finish today to move forward? Maybe it's preparing for that meeting, finally tackling that workout, and making progress on a personal project you've been avoiding. Those are clear, specific, and meaningful. Now, when the distractions start rolling in, the emails, the notifications, the demands from other people, you'll know what matters most. You won't waste your day reacting because you already chose what to act on. That's the beauty of the rule of 3. It cuts out the noise and creates focus. The reason this works so well is because it aligns with how the human brain actually functions. Neuroscience shows that our working memory is limited. We can only hold on to a small number of items at once. Overloading it doesn't make you more productive. It makes you more scattered. So instead of fighting against your biology, you work with it. By narrowing your focus to 3, you set yourself up to succeed. And here's what's incredible. 3 daily wins don't stay small. They add up. Imagine hitting 3 meaningful targets every single day. That's 21 accomplishments in a week, 90 in a month, over 1,000 in a year. Suddenly, the progress that felt impossible becomes inevitable. But I need you to hear this. Those 3 priorities are not random. They're not busy work. They have to be the things that actually matter. The things that will move the needle in your work, your health, your relationships, or your personal growth. Because there's no point in perfectly organizing a list of distractions. You've got to be brutally honest with yourself. Ask, if I only got 3 things done today, what would make the biggest difference? That's how you choose. That's how you make sure your effort is aligned with your goals, not just spent on tasks that keep you busy but stuck. And here's the best part. When you master this rule, you stop feeling overwhelmed. You start ending your days with a sense of accomplishment instead of frustration. You train yourself to finish instead of scatter. You stop carrying the mental load of half-finished projects because you're actually completing what matters. That sense of completion builds confidence. And confidence, my friend, is fuel. It pushes you forward, It makes you braver, and it reminds you that you are capable of creating results. So the next time you sit down to plan your day, I want you to challenge yourself to choose just 3. Write them down, commit to them, and protect them like they matter, because they do. And when the day ends, check them off and feel the weight lift off your shoulders. This is how you take control of your time, this is how you build progress, and this is how you transform busyness into meaningful achievement. 3 priorities every day. That's the system that will change your life. Every single day, you are faced with a choice. Do you spend your time on what's urgent, or do you spend it on what's important? And most people don't even realize there's a difference. They wake up, open their phone, see a flood of emails, messages, and notifications, and immediately start reacting. They spend the day putting out fires, handling interruptions, and answering everyone else's requests. By the time the day ends, they're exhausted but also disappointed because they didn't make progress on the things that actually matter to them. That's the trap of urgency. It feels important, but it rarely moves your life forward. Urgent is seductive. It's loud. It screams for your attention. The ringing phone, the urgent email with capital letters, the person knocking at your door needing something right now. It feels good to respond to urgency because it gives you instant gratification. You handle it and you feel productive for a moment. But here's the problem. If all you ever do is react to urgency, you'll live your entire life responding to other people's agendas instead of building your own. That's why so many people stay busy but never feel fulfilled. Important, on the other hand, is quieter. It doesn't demand your attention in the same way. It's the workout you know you should do but keep pushing off. It's the book you want to write, the business idea you want to explore, the relationships you need to nurture. Important doesn't scream, it whispers. And because it whispers, it's easy to ignore in the face of urgency. But here's the truth. Your future is shaped by the important things, not the urgent ones. Urgent keeps you stuck in the present. Important builds the future you want. Think about it this way. Imagine 2 versions of your day. In one, you spend your time answering every email as soon as it comes in, checking every notification, and handling everyone else's requests. At the end of the day, what did you actually achieve? You cleared your inbox, but you didn't make progress on your goals. In the second version, you block out time for what's important before you deal with urgency. You work on your top priorities, you invest in yourself, you move the needle forward, then you deal with the rest. At the end of that day, you're not just busy, you're fulfilled. That's the difference between urgency and importance. Now, I'm not saying you should ignore urgent things altogether. Life requires us to handle them. But the key is this. Urgent should never come before important. If you let urgency run your life, you'll always be reacting. But if you put importance first, you'll be proactive. You'll be directing your life instead of being dragged through it. This requires discipline because urgent feels so tempting. But the question you need to ask yourself is, will this matter a year from now? Most urgent things won't. Most emails won't. Most interruptions won't. But the important things, your health, your growth, your goals, your relationships, those will absolutely matter. This is why you must protect time for the important. Block it out. Treat it like it's non-negotiable. If your health is important, schedule the workout before you answer emails. If your dream project is important, work on it before you open social media. If your relationships are important, make time to connect with people before the day slips away. Because if you don't protect the important, the urgent will consume everything. And here's the hard truth. You can't wait until you have more time. You'll never have more time. You have to create it by choosing what matters. When you start choosing important over urgent, something powerful happens. You begin to feel in control. You stop ending your days wondering, what did I even do today? Instead, you know exactly what you did. You invested in what matters. You built something. You made progress. That sense of progress builds momentum, and momentum builds confidence. Suddenly, you're not just surviving your days, you're shaping them. And when you stack enough of those intentional days together, you're not just shaping days, you're shaping your life. So the next time you feel pulled by urgency, pause and ask yourself, is this really important or just loud? Will this matter tomorrow, next month, or next year? And if the answer is no, don't let it steal your time. Put your focus where it belongs, on the important. Because at the end of your life, you won't look back and feel grateful you answered emails faster. You'll look back and feel proud you made time for what mattered most. And that choice begins today. Here's the truth about building confidence. It doesn't come from thinking about being confident, and it doesn't come from waiting for the perfect moment to feel ready. Confidence is built through action, through the small wins you collect day after day. And that's why prioritizing your daily goals is so powerful. Because every time you take a step forward, no matter how small, you're stacking proof that you can rely on yourself. Momentum is the secret ingredient. Momentum is what takes you from I can't to I did. It's not about giant leaps. It's about consistent steps that build on each other until suddenly you're unstoppable. Think about the last time you set out to do something meaningful. At the start, it probably felt overwhelming. Maybe it even felt impossible. But then you took one small action. You sent that email, you wrote that first page, you did that 10-minute workout, and what happened? You felt different. You felt a shift. That little action gave you proof that you could begin. And once you begin, something clicks. You want to keep going. That's momentum. And here's the beauty of it. Momentum doesn't just help you accomplish more. It changes the way you see yourself. It rewires your brain to believe, I can do this. Confidence is not built in your head. It's built in your body, in the actions you take. People make the mistake of waiting until they feel confident to start. They think, once I feel ready, then I'll go after my goals. But it doesn't work that way. If you wait to feel ready, you'll wait forever. Readiness doesn't create action. Action creates readiness, and action creates momentum. When you start moving, even imperfectly, you give yourself evidence that you can handle it. That evidence is what creates real, unshakable confidence. Let's break this down with something simple. Imagine you set 3 priorities for your day. You focus on them, and by the end of the day, you've actually finished all 3. That's 3 wins in your pocket. You wake up the next morning already feeling stronger because yesterday you proved to yourself you could follow through. You set the bar and you cleared it. Now today, when you face new challenges, you're not starting from zero. You're building on yesterday's proof. That's momentum. And with each day, the proof piles higher until the voice of doubt gets quieter and the voice of confidence gets louder. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Momentum is more important than motivation. Motivation is unreliable. Some days you'll feel like doing the work, and some days you won't. But momentum doesn't care about feelings. It carries you forward regardless. Once you're in motion, staying in motion is easier than stopping and starting over and over again. It's like pushing a car. At first, it feels impossible to move. But once you get it rolling, it takes less and less effort to keep it going. That's exactly how your goals work. The hardest part is starting. But once you start, momentum takes over. This is why small wins matter so much. People underestimate them because they're not flashy, but they're the foundation of everything big. Writing 1 page doesn't seem like much, but write 1 page every day and you'll finish a book. Saving a small amount of money doesn't feel significant, but do it consistently and you'll build wealth. 10 minutes of exercise might not transform your body overnight, but stack those workouts and you'll change your health. Small wins create momentum, and momentum builds confidence. That's how transformation happens. Through small, consistent steps that compound over time. So if you're sitting there thinking, I'm not confident enough, I'm not ready, I'm not capable, I want you to understand this. Confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you build by taking action, by creating momentum. Stop focusing on the big leap that feels impossible. Instead, ask yourself, what small step can I take today that proves to me I'm moving in the right direction? Then do it. And when you do, celebrate it. Because that small step is not just progress, it's evidence. Evidence that you can do hard things, that you can follow through, that you can trust yourself. And once you collect enough evidence, confidence is no longer something you chase, it becomes who you are. You walk into situations differently, you approach challenges differently because you've taught yourself. through momentum that you are capable. That's how people change. Not through luck, not through waiting for the perfect time, but through the discipline of stacking small wins every single day. So tomorrow, don't wait to feel confident. Don't wait for motivation. Choose one priority, take one action, and start building momentum. Because once you do, you'll discover the truth. You already have what it takes. You just need to move. And let the movement build the confidence you've been searching for all along. Here's the biggest misconception people have about success. They think it's all about motivation. They wait for the right mood, the perfect surge of energy, that magical feeling of now I'm ready. But here's the truth. Motivation is a liar. It shows up when it feels like it, and it disappears just when you need it most. If you depend on motivation, you're going to quit every time things get hard. What actually moves the needle in your life is discipline. Discipline is choosing to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your results. Think about how many times you've set a goal when you were motivated. You told yourself you'd start exercising, you'd stop procrastinating, you'd launch that project, and for a few days, maybe even a week, you felt unstoppable. But then life happened. You got tired, you got distracted, or you just didn't feel like it. And because you were relying on motivation, you stopped. This is why so many people live in cycles of starting and quitting. They're waiting to feel motivated instead of building the muscle of discipline. Discipline is different. Discipline doesn't care how you feel in the moment. Discipline is about commitment. It's about saying, this matters to me and I'm going to do it whether I feel like it or not. And here's the thing. You don't have to feel like doing something in order to do it. That's the part most people miss. You can be tired, you can be unmotivated, you can even feel like quitting and still choose discipline. Because discipline is a decision, not a feeling. And the more you practice that decision, the stronger it becomes. Let me give you an example. Say you commit to writing for 30 minutes every morning. Motivation will not be there every day. Some mornings you'll feel inspired and the words will flow easily. Other mornings you'll stare at the screen and feel like you've got nothing. If you rely on motivation, you'll quit on the hard mornings. But if you rely on discipline, you'll sit down anyway, you'll put in the time, and you'll keep the promise you made to yourself. That's how books get written, not through bursts of inspiration, but through disciplined action. The same is true for fitness, career goals, financial habits, even relationships. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Anyone can push hard for a week when they're motivated, but only discipline keeps you showing up day after day. And here's the magic. When you show up consistently, even when you don't feel like it, you create momentum. And momentum fuels results. Those results then create confidence. And confidence builds more discipline. It becomes a cycle that feeds itself. That's why the most successful people you admire aren't more motivated than you. They're more disciplined. Now, don't misunderstand me. Motivation feels great. When it shows up, use it. Ride that wave. But don't depend on it. Build systems that make discipline easier. For example, if your priority is to exercise in the morning, lay out your clothes the night before. If your goal is to save money, set up automatic transfers so you don't even have to think about it. If your focus is working on a project, block out specific hours in your calendar and treat them like an appointment you can't miss. That's discipline. Creating an environment where your actions are not left to chance or feelings, but to structure and commitment. And here's the best part. Discipline creates freedom. Most people think discipline is restrictive, but it's the opposite. When you're disciplined, you're not at the mercy of your moods or distractions. You're in control. You know you can trust yourself to follow through, and that builds an incredible sense of power. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. That's real freedom, the freedom to design the life you want instead of drifting into one you don't. So the next time you catch yourself waiting for motivation, stop. Don't wait. Motivation may or may not show up, but discipline is always available. Discipline is you choosing to take action regardless of how you feel. And when you do that consistently, you don't just reach your goals, You become the kind of person who always follows through. That's where real confidence comes from. That's where real success comes from. Motivation is temporary, but discipline will carry you for a lifetime. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm goes off and you don't feel like getting up, remember this: it's not about how you feel, it's about what you choose. Choose discipline. Because discipline, not motivation, is what will change your life.